Welcome everyone to the 38th meeting of the 46th year of the Rotary Club of Dublin and Worthington. Today's invocation should be presented by Al Wu. Al, are you on? Is he here? No,
I don't see him.
Tim is not here. Yeah, Tom Rice, you're on. Sorry about that, Tom. I'll give you a moment to collect. We do have a number of folks on the online. Tom, can you give us the invocation today?
Sure. So you mean this Tom Rice, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Tom Rice.
Definitely. Let us pray. Oh God, we thank you for the gift of this day and the gift of this club. And as we navigate the end of the pandemic, we pray that you would continue to guide and bless us. May this meeting be one that draws us closer together and makes us stronger in service as we try together to make more and more of a difference. So thank you for the gift of Rotary and the gift of this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have multiple flag up.
Turn the mic on.
Steve,
Turn the mic on.
Do an introduction of any guests. I think we have one.
Yes. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce Scott Watson, who comes to us from the Union Bank Company. He thinks maybe he wants to help the community and thought this might be a great place to start.
Got that right.
Yeah.
Welcome, Scott. There you go.
Do we have any other visiting Rotarians?
Okay.
Yeah. Happy dollar. See, you're back on.
Sure. So, who's got a happy dollar? Shirley.
Yes, I am very happy my.
Take the mic from Jim.
Happy my.
Turn the mic on.
Okay. I never get it right. I'm happy my oldest granddaughter is graduating June 9th from Hanover High School, and she'll be going to Tufts in the fall, where she'll be on the crew team. And her sister is graduating from middle school and going to high school. She's on the swim team, and her dad is the coach. I'm happy for both my granddaughters.
Hot dog.
I have 5 happy dollars. A couple Mondays ago, when we drove from Florida into the state of Georgia on the way back to Worthington, I looked at Judy and said, we had not been out of the state since October 5th of 2020. Had a lot of plans to be away, but we never left. 5 happy dollars. Glad to be here. Here's my wife.
So I have some happy dollars also. We had lots of graduations in our family this spring. We had Sophia from Scripps College in Southern California. Sage is graduating from high school and going to American University. And Samara is graduating from 8th grade into middle school. out in Ashland, Oregon. So a very happy time around there.
And I've got a niece, granddaughter who's graduating, and we're honoring her this week too.
Fantastic. Dave Hanson.
Yes. This is for my granddaughters again, who are graduating this June. We were just informed last night that they are receiving the Gold Award, which was the highest award in Girl Scouts. And yes, Josephine did a biography of 6 women in science. And it's up on the web if anyone is interested in seeing it. Our granddaughter Julia did a 18-minute interview of veterans that are in the Berlin area settled out there. And it has to do with the legacy of US troops in Berlin. And that was also on YouTube if you're interested in seeing it. We're very proud of these granddaughters.
Fantastic. John, let it rip. Get your hand up.
Very much for noticing the folks in the peanut gallery. That's great. I want to have a happy dollar for my grandson, Noah Silliman, who graduated from Thomas Worthington High School on Monday night. We're glad he made it through. He will attend Walsh University in the fall or in August, which is up in Canton, Ohio. He is also running in the regional track meet. He'll be in the 4x8 this afternoon, and later in the week he'll running in the 3200. So congratulations to Noah. And Jennifer Best got presided over as the president of the school board, presided over the graduation, or was a major person in the graduation ceremony, and she received a special award. And is she there to tell us about it?
She's here, she's trying to hide.
I cried, oh, bloody too. Thank you. It was quite a huge honor and shock to get nominated by our amazing superintendent, of course. To be in the Thomas Worthington High School Hall of Fame 46 years after I graduated. Okay.
That's terrific. Anyone else?
Yeah.
So the announcements, anyone having announcements at this point?
Mike,
I have an announcement. Yes.
Yeah.
We are set for the golf outing this Friday at Glen Ross. Tee time start at noon. I think I still have a spot or two available. If anybody wants to join at the last minute, just let me know and we'll get you signed up on the list. I'm trying to get tee times out to everybody by probably tomorrow, sometime midday. That's all I have.
Any other announcements? I have a couple. One is that I want to encourage, and probably most people know this, but if you miss, really do in fact sign up what you're going to be doing regarding lunch. Even if you're not coming, I then know and can predict how many tables to set up. We've set up quite a few and the registrations were very low. But we only had 30 folks respond out of 80 club members. So we do need everyone to get on, and please do that on a weekly basis. Speaking of which, we will be going back completely to a hybrid situation beginning on June 9th. We will do breakfast But it will only be coffee. So if you want to grab a bite to eat before you come or after, right now, we believe that to keep it simple, we want to make sure that we keep not have to at that point get everybody to respond on whether or not they're coming. And the breakfast numbers are much lower, so we felt that it was best to just go with coffee and water for morning. Then we will go with from now on, after the 9th, we will in fact be doing hybrid meetings here. And we want to encourage everyone who can attend, please attend. And please let us know your intentions when you get received the email. The second thing is that we've had quite a few conversations with Trillium, and they are going to continue with their providing lunches at the second meeting, or which is the following week, the last 2 meetings of the month at noon. They will continue to provide catering. They're hoping that in the near future, especially before the end of the summer, that they will be able to have us back in the building. But that is unknowable until the governor can see where we are along the way. So we will be continuing to be here at least through the end of July. And all meetings beginning the 9th, not the 2nd. The next meeting will be pure Zoom, but after that, we will meet on beginning the 9th in hybrid meetings, and we'll be here through at least the end of July. So, and again, Frank, we appreciate the tremendous hospitality of your staff and cooperation. Without that, we probably would not be face to face right now. Finally, the last meeting of June, the 23rd of June, will be the installation of our next president, Steve. President Steve will be in fact sworn in at that time. We will also be celebrating the 3 award winners for preparing the year, which happens to be Steve. Rookie of the year. Pardon?
Yeah, go ahead, make me rookie of the year too. Just round it out.
He's already been rookie of the year, so he can't be it twice. Paul Sickpar, and of course, John Butterfield will in fact be receiving a Avenues of Service award. Okay. Without any further announcements, we'll have Joe Patchen. Could you introduce the speaker for today?
It is my pleasure to introduce Bill Owens. He's the Executive Director of the Clintonville Beechwold Community Resources Center. And he's not as famous north of Jerry's Drive-In as he is south of it, but I think you'll be delighted to hear the variety and scope of the services that his organization provides. It was my pleasure to meet Bill probably 25 years ago, and I think he came up to me at a Clintonville Chamber event and said, "Joe Patchen, do you have a grandpa named Joe Patchen?" And apparently my namesake made an impression on Bill, and he was a character, and I was we were all very delighted at the wonderful services that Bill help provide to the elders, including Grandpa at that time. So without further ado, let's hear from Bill. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe, and thank you everybody for having me. My name is Bill Owens, and I'm the Executive Director of the Clintonville Beechwold Community Resources Center. So this is our 50th year this year. We were started in 1971 by the North Broadway United Methodist Church. They had a capital campaign back in 1971 and decided to set aside about 20% of what they raised to start a community center to address the social issues here in the immediate neighborhood around North Broadway United Methodist Church. Thus started the CRC. Our first director was Bob Erickson, a pastor from Virginia, and he still lives here in Clintonville. He has the most remarkable house on Indianola. And if you go down Indianola Avenue, you see this great big house that he's been working on for many decades and was in Columbus Monthly magazine over this past year. So we're a settlement house. So settlement houses have a very rich history. Settlement houses started in 1873 in London, England, by a pastor named Samuel Barnett. And he was assigned to a wealthy parish in London, and he declined that and preferred to be on the east side, where it was stated that there was a large criminal element on the east side of London, and he wanted to go there. And what he did there was to start a place called Toynbee Hall. Toynbee Hall is considered the first settlement house, and it started with the philosophy of getting young, energetic seminary students to come and settle amongst the poor. So thus the term settlement house. Many folks mistake the name settlement house for us having the mission of settling immigrants. We have done that work and still do that work today, but that's not where the name comes from. So today, settlement houses are different from any other social service agency in that our mission is focused on a geographic area. So for instance, nonprofits like the Alzheimer's Association, they're helping people that are affected by the disease, Alzheimer's disease. If someone goes to a mental health center, they go there to get help with their mental health. So they have those missions that are focused on a particular problem or a particular special population. So settlement houses are different in that our focus is geographic. So here in Columbus, we have 5 settlement houses. Some of them started over 100 years ago, much like Toynbee Hall. So back to my little history about settlement houses, which I can spend a lot of time on that, but I won't, is that they came here to the United States a few years after 1873, and the first settlement house was in New York City and is known as University Settlement. What's mistaken as the first settlement house in the United States is Hull House in Chicago. So fascinating story, and a great book called 20 Years at Hull House, which I recommend to anyone that might be interested in learning about Jane Addams. Jane Addams was the daughter of an Illinois legislator, and she was raised at the knee of Abraham Lincoln, because Abraham Lincoln and her father were friends in the Illinois legislature. So at a very young age, she recognized the plight of those people that are poor. At the age of 7, she recognized that there were some smaller houses, and she asked her father, who lives in those smaller houses? And she said, and he explained to her about poor people. And she said that when she grew up, she was going to make a big house that poor people would be able to come to. And she did. So in 1889, she started Hull House in Chicago. And she just rented an old mansion on Halsted Street, and she and another woman just started hanging out there and getting to know the neighbors. She had been to Toynbee Hall and was electrified by the idea of creating a center where people could come and change their lives and make their lives better. So a lot of what settlement houses do is to build people up. So with the immigrants that were in Chicago, her idea was that if you put up a picture of Michelangelo's David, then the Italian immigrants would feel proud, and that would energize them to remember the culture that they came from and how much they could accomplish. Obviously, she found out that it's a whole lot more complicated than that. But what they did was they gradually started adding services. So for instance, a woman came by one day and handed them her child and said, I have to go work in a factory. And that's what started their nursery. There were young women that would come to Chicago to seek their fortune, and they would be quite vulnerable and get exploited. So they started cooperative housing because yes, we had human trafficking back then too. So today, we have, as I mentioned, 5 settlement houses here in Columbus. There's ourselves. There's Central Community House on the Near East Side. There's Godman Guild, which is over 100 years old, which is currently in the Wineland Park neighborhood, and they're planning on moving closer to downtown. They were originally in Flytown, or Italian Village, where the houses flew up. That's called Flytown. Gladden Community House on the west side, started by Reverend Gladden, who's considered the first citizen of Columbus. And if you go to Cleveland Avenue and Broad Street here in Columbus, you'll find the Reverend Gladden Social Justice Park dedicated to him, and he started Gladden Community House. And he, along with Mr. Poindexter, were the first ones here in Columbus to address racial segregation in the schools in Columbus. Long before Brown versus Board of Education, we here in Columbus with Reverend Gladden and Mr. Poindexter were addressing the problem of racial segregation. Let me talk about CRC and what we do here. So as a settlement house, now you understand that the services we do were reflective of the needs of the people in the neighborhood that we serve. So here in Clintonville, like most neighborhoods, we have some people that don't have as much money as others and sometimes need help to get by. So we have a food pantry that's located at our 14 West Lakeview location. That is what used to be the Clintonville Library building. So an interesting CRC history point is that we got that library building that was built in 1929. We got it in 1981 for $1. A fabulous deal. And we're still using that to feed people that are in need. Now, with the pandemic, things have changed. We've not been able to allow people to come into the building to get their food from the food pantry. We have them standing outside, and we had an awning put out front so as to people won't get sick. But during the COVID crisis, we've doubled the amount of people that we've served, and we've successfully been able to stay open during the whole pandemic. So people are able to come there, and that's worked out well to keep people going during the pandemic. The northern part of Clintonville is the 43214 zip code. That's what goes right up to Worthington. And that is the zip code in Franklin County with the highest percentage of people 60 and over of any zip code in Franklin County. So as of the 2010 census, 1 out of 5 people in the 43214 zip code are 60 or over. So we've had services for a long time to address those needs. So we do case management, which is a supportive service, and that's a social worker that's just helping a senior with whatever it is that they need help with to keep themselves safely in their own home. We have senior personal finance management. So for the northern half of Franklin County, which would include Worthington, we have social workers that are certified in personal finance management. So if you're a person 60 or over, and in Franklin County, that's the magic number to become a senior, such as I am, then we can help you with your finances. Maybe your spouse handled your finances and is unable to do that anymore, and you need some help getting it organized. Our social worker can help you do that. If you know of somebody who's being exploited for their money, that happens sometimes, and we need to know about that. We need to protect our neighbors. So we're able to come in and help them get their finances in order and keep them from being exploited. We're also able to then set up automatic bill pay for people if they need that and need that to keep their finances organized. We do a lot of senior transportation. We're the lead agency in Franklin County for getting seniors to and from the grocery store. So we, along with the other settlement houses here in Columbus, like St. Stephen's Community House, Gladden Community House, Central Community House, we all transport seniors to and from the grocery store and on social outings. Now, during the pandemic, that just wasn't a very safe thing to do, to pack a bunch of seniors into the van. So we've had to decrease the amount in the vans. We've put up plastic barriers between seats so that people can be safe in the vans. And then we turned around and did a whole lot of delivery. So we did a lot of delivery of meals to seniors in the pandemic. And one thing we did was countywide, along with an agency called Age Friendly Columbus and Franklin County. We made available necessity bags. So if an older person was feeling isolated, didn't have a face mask or the things that you need to get through a pandemic safely, then we made deliveries of those things for the past year now. And that's been extended through till this fall, that we're going to keep making those deliveries to folks to stay in touch with folks. So like any neighborhood, we've got kids. So we have an after-school program called the Kids Club, again, started at the North Broadway United Methodist Church, but it came to us back in 1998. And now we have 3 locations, one at the Maple Grove United Methodist Church, one at the Columbus Mennonite Church, and also at the Clinton Heights Lutheran Church. So this is for kindergarten through 5th grade. It's after school, obviously, during the school year. During this school year, we had a lot of days where we had the kids all day, along with their laptops, and helping them to attend school right there on their laptops. Lot of technology issues, as you can imagine, as we all try to learn how to stay in touch with each other using all these fancy Zoom things. So they were able to keep the after school program going and even provide a place for kids to go that they could attend school while their parents are going to work. So that's our after school program. We have a program that's a kinship care program. So kinship care is something we've been doing for about 12 years now, and we do that countywide, all over Franklin County. And we're helping those people that are raising their relatives' children, where the parents aren't available. So the parents may be deceased, they may be ill, they may be incarcerated, but for some reason they're not able to take care of their children. So for as long as there's been people, grandparents have been taking care of grandchildren, haven't they? So not only grandparents, but that's the most common, is grandparents are taking in children long past the years that they thought they would be raising children. So oftentimes we'll have a 70-year-old grandmother who's now got an infant and doesn't have any of the equipment or the stuff that you need. So we have diapers, we have children's clothing, toys, all manner of things that folks donate to us that we then turn around and give to these families that are supporting these kids. And that keeps those children out of foster care, saves the county a lot of money, and the children do better when they're with their own relatives, as you can imagine. So we're able to help anybody that's able to take in those kids, and oftentimes that's aunts, uncles, even siblings, adult siblings taking care of kids, and we're there to help them to be able to do that. One thing going on these days for us 50 and older crowd is the village movement. So throughout Franklin County, there's about 4 or 5 of these villages. And what it is it's a network of people 50 and over that get to know each other. And as they grow older and have issues in the neighborhood, they can stay in their homes because they have friends to help them to do those things. Say you have to go to the hospital and you're coming out and you need somebody to cut your grass or feed your cat. Well, then you've got some friends there to lend a hand. The village movement started with a couple in Massachusetts. Apparently, they had to tie a rope around the husband of the couple as he walked out onto the roof to fix the roof on an annual basis. As the wife was holding the rope to the guy that was up on the roof, they realized that they weren't going to be able to do that forever, and that they would need some help from younger people or their neighbors. So they were part of what's now the village movement. It's a very neat way to get to know people. They have happy hours together. They do crafts together. They have young people come and teach them how to use this technology that's foreign to a lot of us. And again, it's this network that helps support each other to be able to get by. So for us, we have 7 programs. We've got the food pantry, the senior programs, the kid programs, and then we also have a community garden. So over at Midgard and the railroad tracks, close to 71, someone gave us a lot. So we've got a community garden that's just beautiful, and that people from the neighborhood grow vegetables every year. If folks are interested in volunteering, we always need folks to help us to drive seniors to and from their doctor's appointments. We have events to volunteer for, all kinds of things that you can come and get involved and help out your neighbors. When we're not having a pandemic, we have community meals, and that's a neat opportunity to do a number of things. One is to have a nice meal with neighbors here in the neighborhood, but also every Tuesday night, we get 10,000 pounds of produce. So prior to the pandemic, people would all have dinner together on Tuesday night, and then about 50 or 60 of them, after having dinner, would get up and unload that 10,000 pounds of produce and bring it into the building so we could distribute it every Wednesday as we're doing today. So as the pandemic winds down, look for more opportunities for getting involved and coming and getting involved in our food pantry. The community meals in the food pantry, one really important aspect of that is it's an opportunity for people to bring their kids. And if you as a child witness your parents volunteering and being involved in the community, you are much more likely to do that as an adult yourself. So it's an opportunity for them to learn how they can get involved in their community and they can help support their neighbors. So I'm a chatty social worker that can go on and on and on, but I don't want to hog all your time. If there's any questions, I'd love to talk with you more about what we do. How are we doing on time, Joe?
I think we're good. Let's hear if we have some questions.
Very good.
Hey, Bill, I have a question. Do you, is there a community house or settlement house in Upper Arlington? And how can we, if we want to get in touch with you to volunteer or help your group?
Excellent. Well, back in 2007, when we had our last recession, there were some people coming from the Upper Arlington area to use our food pantry. So we expanded our area to include that area, like 43220. And we never stopped. So I guess in effect, we're your settlement house for Upper Arlington, in that our food pantry serves those people in need. So, and to contact us to get involved, there's a couple ways to do that. We have a volunteer coordinator, Allie Hartung. And if you call 614-268-3539, that's how to reach Allie. For those of us that are more technologically capable, there's a gadget on our website called the Sign Up Genius, and she has different volunteer opportunities on there, and people can go online and sign up to volunteer for activities, like delivering some of these items to seniors. And she has all kinds of different opportunities for folks to get involved. Like we get youth groups to do yard work for seniors. So if your church has a youth group and they need an activity, that's a great one. They don't get to use any power tools, so it's a safe opportunity for kids to get involved.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have a question, Bill, but I have a comment. I was just very impressed with, I knew nothing about your organization, I'm sorry to say, but I'm very impressed with the rich history that your group has and impressed by the scope of the services that you provide. It's really amazing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it keeps me busy, I'll tell you. So prior to coming to CRC, I worked in community mental health, which is a tough business, no question. I did that for 10 years. But one thing I kind of look enviously at the mental health executive directors in that they have like one program. I got 7. But what it goes to is that people want to help. People want to make sure that their neighbors have everything they need. So, we have an enormous number of nonprofits in this community, and that can seem to be a problem in that how do we keep them all funded and going? But it goes to how much people really do want to help and they want to take care of each other. So for us, we have really grown in the now 25 years I've been here. We had 7 employees when I started, and we've got about 50 now. So, people want to do good. People want to do good. It's just like with eBay, people are typically honest and want to do the right thing. Well, doggone it, they want to do the right thing for their neighbors too. And I think that our agency is proof of that. So thank you, John.
Sue, Jen, can you get Sue the microphone?
I'm very impressed with your services and the scope of it. You really are covering the whole lifespan here, and some intergenerational programs, which I think are great. And I'm just impressed. Thank you for being one of our speakers.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we our services are cradle to grave, if you will. That is that, and your friends should be cradle to grave too, right? So that's who we are. We're family to a lot of people who don't have any family. I had a gal give me a Russian nesting doll once, and she gave that to me, and she was from Ukraine, and she said, none of my family are here. You people are my family here. And that just was so gratifying to hear that, because that's the relationship we want to have with folks. We're not just here to hand out food. We want to hand out food, and we want to know what's going on in your life. What's good going on in your life that you maybe want to contribute to other people and to share. So it's part of that relationship, and that's what's made it grow.
Bill,
Yeah.
I'm Jim Miller, and I actually know Bob Erickson quite well. I've been in the house. Started the first time I think I was there was in 1980, when it was not as expansive as it is because it looks like in some ways, a maze across that entire property that people don't realize how much he's done. But he was very invested in foster care. That's how I knew him. And I suspect he possibly was involved with the kinship care development. Was he involved with that, or did that come later?
That came much later.
Oh, okay. So
he was our director from I think 71 to 79. And then about a year after that, Pam McCarthy became our executive. It was Mike Horofakis for a year, and then Pam McCarthy, who still lives in the neighborhood, and she later became director of Central Community House for about 30 years. But Bob, Bob's right here in the neighborhood.
Too.
I'm sorry.
But getting back to the kinship care,
yeah,
you talk a little bit about one, the number of families that are involved and the types of things that you do for them, because many of us come in contact with families that had to take or still stood up to take their kids, their children's children and relatives and so on.
Yeah.
The size of that, the activities.
So typically we're involved with kinship families for about 6 months. At any one time, we're involved with about 50 families is commonly the number. And really it runs the gamut of just whatever obstacle there is for that family to be able to successfully raise this child. So there's a number of things we can help kinship families to access. For instance, there's now some kinship support through the state of Ohio. It's not a lot of money, but it's some money that they can get from the state of Ohio to help support them. There's an effort on the part of grandparents and kinship families, of which grandparents are a lot of them, to be able to get access to the funds that would otherwise go to that child if they were in foster care. So there's an effort to address that. But what we'll do is we know of places that they can get some support like that. If they have a situation where, just kind of really difficult situation where they maybe really need a lot of help at once, we can access the gifts of kindness fund at the Columbus Foundation and be able to help them out. Maybe they are behind on their rent. Maybe there's some things they need to purchase. Maybe they need their car fixed. For one family, they had a van that was about to go kablooey, but she needed it every day to get these kids to and from school. So what we arranged was to get this van fixed early in the morning and have it all done by the afternoon when she needed to go pick up the children. So it might be something like that. If they want to seek custody, we can link them with legal aid to help them with that. Well, and legal aid has been working with us to help these kinship families in all kinds of legal situations. Custody is one of the more difficult ones. So it may be a matter of that they are taking on an added burden and need more income. We provide all kinds of material things, like I'd mentioned, clothing, toys, diapers, and we've even set up kids with everything for their bedroom. At one point, my wife, Julie, started an effort that she called A Room of My Own. So she would get information about a particular child and what color they like, what sports they like, what characters they like, and get them the bedspread and all the things they need for their bedroom. She started that when she heard about a child in our care that bedroom was a blow-up mattress and a lamp. That's all this child had for their bedroom. So that's what got her involved and her starting to help like that. one thing to be aware of with kinship families, especially grandparents, is that they might be reluctant to get any help because they might feel ashamed of their child having failed in some way of taking care of a grandchild. And that's a shame that they feel that way. So we want them to feel comfortable and we want them to know that they're really helping with something very important. And that we're just here to help them with that. So all someone needs to do is to call our main number here and get their name in, and one of our social workers will be in contact with them.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions?
I have a question for Bill.
Yeah, Joe.
And Tom Rice can attest to this. Our Boy Scout troop is affiliated with his church. We've got a whole bunch of Boy Scouts who like to do service projects, and if there's an ideal thing for a mob of adolescent boys to help with, it's a double-edged sword, again, as Reverend Bryce can tell us. But I'd like to hear that answer maybe later if you could, or now if it would be instructive to anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, through Allie Hartung, she can line up activities for you. I mean, we know the seniors, that's for sure. We've also had Eagle Scouts do their projects here to get their Eagle Scout.
Oh, really? Okay, we have a couple of people. We have a couple of people, including my son, who are picking their Eagle projects right now. So that's nice to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well then, for now, concludes your presentation, Bill. But
all right,
you can hang around after the meeting for more questions and answers. We appreciate it. If you can't, that's okay. So
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
All righty.
Cheers for
well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Fun presentation and a lot of good information. As we close, the next week's speaker, Bill, if you want, or Joe, would you please speak?
Yeah, I'd be happy to let you know. June 2nd, our speaker will be Laura Parker Rordan. I know her middle name because I knew her in college. We go way back, and she is the executive director of an organization called Ocean Matters. And they do some very interesting things. They bring high school age students to endangered marine ecosystems for service projects performed in scuba gear. So that you can imagine that's very interesting, and she takes some gorgeous pictures of what they do. So this will be a very interesting subject, I think, with some eye-opening photography associated with it, and she's a very dynamic leader too. And so that's lucky because it's a 7:30 a.m. meeting. So hope everybody can make that one.
With that, let's move to closing the meeting. And
Did Joe have something else? No? Okay, sorry.
Yes. Closing the meeting, as we do always, and reciting the four-way test of the things that we think, say, and do. First is the truth. Stand up. Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all, and please do come on next week on Zoom, and the following week respond to the survey of whether or not you're coming and attending personally or on.